This is a trimming from a burl that I turned last October. I had to trim about an inch off of it so it would clear the bed on my lathe. Well, this still won't clear the bed, but I've got a couple ideas on what I want to do with it. One was to cut it into strips and make segments out of it, and the other is to make a bowl from a board out of it. So I think today I'll be making a bowl from a Burl board. And try saying that 3 times fast. I'll go ahead and get this cut round, we'll get it mounted up on the lathe, and we'll start working on it. See you soon. I've got both sides flattened. I'm going to hot glue this tenon on, and then we'll get it in the lathe and start making some rings. I put a couple spots on the other side so it wouldn't move on me, but this is how I put it on. That should be good. I'm going to let this sit all night. It's getting late in the day and I've got a lot of things going on this week, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get the rings cut, glued together, and turned. So I'll see you then. Okay, it's time to cut some rings, and I'll show you how this ring cutting jig works that I made, but I have a video on this specifically. But I want to cut a ring, and there's been some questions about how I match these, and I've tried to explain it, but I want to show it one more time. It's a very simple way to make sure the rings fit when you glue them together. But to start with, I use this high-tech measuring device. It's a popsicle stick. I have templates with different angles on it. My first ring will be 40 degrees. I'll make sure that's 40 degrees. And we're ready to cut. And I'll use this thin parting tool that I have. It's a Robert Sorby. It's called a 2mm. It's about a 1/16 thick, almost a 1/4 inch tall. There it is. There, I didn't want that to fly off. And it's cut all the way through. Looks like a nice edge. I'll get set up for the next ring, and I'll show you how I come up with that dimension. Here's the ring I just cut. I was cutting from this direction. I'll measure the bottom of that ring because this will actually be sitting on the bottom. So I want that diameter to be left on this piece. So that was 7 3/4. I'm going to cut this so the diameter of the inside of this ring is 7 3/4. Alright, that's the last ring I'm going to cut, and this one's on 50 degrees. So I've got a 40, a 45, and a 50. Same process. I found that this piece of wood is cutting better at around 620 RPM. Oh, we did it. Alright, get these cleaned up and we'll glue them together and let them sit all night. Okay, it's time to glue it together. Before I cut the rings in it, I made a straight line across in 2 places so that after I cut it, I would know how it was positioned before I cut it. I think what I'll do is start by gluing this one on top of here, and I've got those lines and they match up and this fits good. So I'll go ahead and get glue on this surface. So I'm going to let this kind of tack up a little bit before I clamp it, because I don't want it sliding around. And then I'll just clamp it for a short time and flip it over, because I think I can get more pressure against it pressing against the little board. But I can see it better this way. It's already felt like it's tacked up a little bit. I'll put this on it, and this weight that I have, it's actually a measuring setup, but I use it for a weight now. Alright, I think it's not going to move. Let that sit for a while, flip it over, and we'll get the next ring on the other side. Okay, I got that ring glued on. I didn't show it, but I'll put the last one on now, and then I'll clamp it up, let it sit all night. And I still have my line over here to help it line up. Okay, it is there. This sat all night and half the morning, and getting ready to put a shape on the outside. The rings are not real thick, so I won't be taking much off of them, but because I cut each one of them on a different angle, it has somewhat of a built-in curve to it. So we'll go ahead and get a shape on this, and I'll see what I can do on the inside of it. I'll have the lathe running at about 750 RPM, and I'll start with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. So let me get set up and we'll do that. Alright. Running pretty true. Alright, I think don't really want to cut any more off of there. I'm going to use a negative rake scraper to get this little ridge off of here. Pretty much the same thing on the inside. I just need to clean these joints up and get whatever shape I can in there, and then take some cuts across the bottom, because that's still kind of rough from when I milled it off. About the same, 750 RPM, same 1/2 inch bowl gouge. that's not bad. I've got a lot of vibrations here, so I have some little grooves that are not cleaning up, but I'm pretty sure the negative rake scraper will take care of that. Alright, before I do any sanding, I took a good look at this rim here, and I want to kind of bevel it downwards on the outside. I think that might look nice. And then I'll look at the underside again and maybe try to match that same shape. And see if I can do a little bit of that with the negative rake scraper. Okay, I think that'll do it. I'll go ahead and get cleaned up here and we'll do some sanding. Alright, I'll do some sanding on the inside. I'll start with 80 grit, probably work my way to 400. I'll have the lathe running forward at about 380, and I'm going to turn my dust collector on and I'll show you some of that. And then I'll set it up and show you a little sanding on the back side. Be back when it's time to get a finish on it. Got it sanded to 400. I think I'll use the Shelac based sanding sealer on it, and there is a lot of wormholes. I'm not going to fill them right now, but once I get some sealer on there I may change my mind. Alright, that's not very hard to do at all. Okay, I'll put a coat of the sanding sealer on the inside now. And this is the Zinsser seal coat. There, I think that showed up better than the outside. It's really hard to get good lighting. It's either too bright or not bright enough. I think that's going to work out just fine. And the wormholes, I think I'll probably leave them. Probably get a couple coats of this on. And I think I'll use shellac for the final finish, because this is going on really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that, and it'll all look exactly the same. So when I come back, we'll have the tenon to take off and we'll be through. Normally I use denatured alcohol to cut through the hot glue, but this is a different batch that I bought, and I'm using lacquer thinner right now, and I'd rather use the other hot glue, but This is what was in the gun, so I'm dealing with it, and it works. I just don't like the idea of lacquer thinner getting anywhere near my finishes. I think that's going to come off now. Alright, so this wasn't as easy as usual, but I got it off. Well, here it is, and I knew we'd be real busy this week, and so I needed to make something fairly simple and fairly quick. I did not realize I was going to get such a beautiful bowl out of this. This burl is amazing. This is a remnant from the burl that I turned last year, and I could have made a plate out of it, but I decided to make a bowl from a burl board, and I'm sure glad I did. I think it turned out great. Finished 10.5 inches in diameter. It's a little over 3 inches tall. The walls are 1/4 inch. The rim's probably 5/16, and the base is about 4 inches. I used 2 coats of Zinsser seal coat, 2 coats of Zinsser shellac, and then I used Acks abrasive paste and polish. And you can see it really got a nice finish. And I'm really happy with how all the features in that burl seem to line up perfect. That's because I put a pencil line across it. I used that to line it up. After I cut the rings, it made it real easy to get them in place. What I really like is that knot right there. I had cut right through that when I made a ring. And when I lined it up, you can't even tell that it's got a joint in it. Anyways, I'm really happy with this, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Also, leave a comment. I enjoy reading them all, and I do my best to answer them all. If you could share the video around, that would really be great. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so, and many thanks to all of my current subscribers. I enjoy all types of wood turning. Let me know your favorite. Thanks again, and until the next time, see you later.